Controlling emotions is one of humanity's greatest challenges, especially when it comes to anger. Although often seen as a natural response to injustice or frustration, uncontrolled rage can lead to serious personal, social, and even physical consequences. Whether in a classroom, a family, or a nation, when anger takes control, destruction often follows. To better understand this dynamic, consider the story of Arthur, a young man who learned through experience that true strength lies not in reacting with fury, but in mastering oneself. Arthur lived in a small village surrounded by a dense forest and mountains. He was widely admired for his bravery and physical strength. No wild animal threatened the village as long as Arthur was near. However, this admiration was always mixed with fear. Arthur's anger was quick and fierce. A simple disagreement in the marketplace or a misplaced comment during a meal could lead to shouting, broken furniture, and sometimes even fight. Despite his good intentions, Arthur began to feel isolated. People respected him, but from a distance. Children were afraid to play near him, and neighbors hesitated before asking for help. Deep down, Arthur wondered why his strength, which was supposed to protect and unite, seemed to push people away. One day, an elderly traveler named Elias arrived in the village. With calm eyes and a peaceful voice, he introduced himself as a storyteller and healer. Villagers quickly gathered to hear his tales, and Arthur, curious, joined the crowd. During a story about an ancient warrior, Elias remarked, "The greatest battle a man can fight is against his own anger." This statement stirred something inside Arthur, and not in a good way. Feeling challenged, Arthur stood and said, "You know nothing of real strength, old man." He knocked over Elias's cup of tea and stormed out. But Elias remained composed. Instead of reacting, he gently said, "Come with me tomorrow to the forest. I will show you what true strength looks like." His calmness confused Arthur, but pride would not let him refuse. The next morning, they journeyed deep into the forest, farther than Arthur had ever gone. Eventually, they reached a dark cave. "Inside," said Elias, "lives a lion feared by all. It represents not just wildness, but anger in its purest form. Many have entered hoping to defeat it. None have returned unchanged." Arthur, filled with confidence, walked in first. Moments later, roars and shouts echoed through the trees. He stumbled out, his face scratched, shirt torn, eyes burning with rage. "It's impossible to control that beast," he shouted. "It attacks without reason." Elias smiled gently and entered the cave. No roars followed. Time passed in silence. Eventually, Elias emerged, walking beside the lion as if it were a calm companion. Arthur was stunned. "How did you do that?" he asked, still panting. "I didn't fight it," Elias replied. "I waited. I watched. I breathed. I didn't react with fear or force. I showed it peace, and in return, it showed me peace. Anger, like this lion, feeds on reaction. If you respond to fury with more fury, it grows. But if you respond with stillness, it loses its power." This moment marked a turning point in Arthur's life. He realized that his strength had always been reactive, not intentional. He began a long journey of self-mastery. He trained not only his body but also his mind and emotions. At first, it was hard. He struggled to remain calm when insulted, to walk away from conflict, and to listen instead of shout. But little by little, he changed. Over time, the villagers noticed the transformation. Arthur became a leader not just because of his might, but because of his wisdom. He listened more. He offered advice. When disputes arose in the village, people turned to him for guidance, not out of fear, but out of respect. The same children who once hid from him now played near his door. Years later, Arthur would tell his own story to young villagers, repeating the lesson he had learned in the forest. The strongest man is not the one who defeats others, but the one who defeats himself. To tame the lion within us is the greatest victory of all. This story teaches an essential truth. Anger is part of human nature, but it must be controlled. When we let it take over, we act without thinking and often hurt the people we love. However, when we learn to pause, reflect, and respond with calmness, we become truly strong. As Arthur discovered, true courage is not found in the roar but in the silence that follows it.